Hi friends, my name is Dr. Samir Boyer and I am working as a quality consultant with Fumident. We are working towards improvement of quality in clinical sector. Today we will look after NABH chapters, in which the fifth chapter is HIC, that is Hospital Infection Control. This is an important aspect of all clinical setups including dental practice. It includes mainly linen management, biomedical waste management, then infection control manual, a comprehensive infection control program. We'll look after one by one. We'll start with biomedical waste management. As per Biomedical Waste Handling Rule 1998 and amendments came time to time, it is necessary for all the healthcare setups to segregate and hand over the biomedical waste in context with the biomedical waste handling rule. What biomedical handling rule says, so we need to segregate all the medical waste into defined categories with defined color codes. We'll see one by one. The first category is yellow. As we all know, the human anatomical part, the items which are infected or soiled with blood and body fluids must be discarded in yellow dustbin. Apart from that, the blood bags used for transfusion, then any items which is contaminated with blood or body fluid must be discarded in yellow container. Then the next container is blue, in which all glass items like vials, then ampoules must be discarded in blue container, which is basically a puncture proof container. Then another container is red color. Red color is used to discard the item which are plastics like IV bottles, IV sets, then syringes which are not infected with blood and body fluids, etc. are discarded in red. Then another type of container is white container, that is puncture proof container, in which we discard sharps like needles, scalpels, everything will be discarded in white container. It must be a puncture proof container so that it will not create any risk for injury, accidental injury to healthcare staff. Then second most important topic in healthcare sector, that is HIC point of view, is vaccination, pre-exposure and post-exposure vaccination. As we all know, there are some infection which will be carried from one person to another when we do not take some precautions, like infections HIV, HBs, AG can spread as they are blood-borne pathogens. So there are some recommendation that healthcare staff must be vaccinated with some basic vaccines. We will see what are these vaccines and what vaccination healthcare staff must get while he start practicing in clinical setups like dental and other setups. The first vaccine healthcare staff must be vaccinated with is hepatitis B. As we all know, this is a blood-borne pathogen and can be transmitted through direct contact with the blood. If our mucous membrane or body part will be exposed to blood, then that infection might be transmitted to other person. So hepatitis B vaccine is available in the market, and every staff who is directly taking care of patients should be vaccinated with hepatitis B. There are 3 doses of the vaccination recommended, that is dose 0, dose 1 and dose 2. The first dose will be given as soon as the staff start working in a healthcare sector like clinical patient, taking care of patients. Then second dose will be given 1 month later. Then third dose will be given after 6 months from the dose 0. Like other vaccines, flu, influenza, MMR and meningococcal vaccines may be given as per the clinical setup. If there is a risk of exposure to these diseases, then healthcare staff can be immunized with these kind of vaccines. But the point that must be noted here is the hepatitis B vaccine is compulsory for all staff, including medical, paramedical and housekeeping staff, because they are all at risk of exposure to this kind of bacteria and viruses. Then third most important topic in clinical context is linen management. Linen are regularly used in some clinical procedures, some operations, there are 2 types of linen which are collected after procedure, that is soiled linen and unsoiled linen. Then the important topic in healthcare and clinical setting is linen management. As we all know, linen is the most important part used in all procedures, including dental procedures and some OT procedures. We must know how to disinfect the soiled linen and how to handle these linens while transporting, washing, cleaning and all procedures. We will categorize the linen in basically two things, like one is soiled linen and another is unsoiled linen. Soiled linen is a linen in which the linen is exposed to some body fluid, blood, that must be stored separately from unsoiled linen. Soiled linen need to be cleaned with some kind of chemicals for disinfections, like 1% sodium hypochlorite. Some of the products are available using which we can disinfect the soiled linen. Another thing is, unsoiled linen can be washed with soap and water using hot water or cold water. There are two methods of washing linen, like directly hand wash or machine wash. There are some steps for hand washing of linen. Step 1 is wash heavy soiled linen separately from non-soiled linen. Then wash the entire item water liquid soap to remove the spillage and debris from the linen. Then pre-soak in the soap water and bleach only linen if it is heavily soiled in 1% hypochlorite freshly prepared solution. Then it must be kept for some half an hour for disinfection. Then they can be taken off from the solution and washed as regular linen. Washing linen in machine. Wash heavily soiled linen separately from non-soiled linen. Then adjust the temperature and time cycle of the machine according to manufacturer's instruction. Both cold and hot water can be used for washing this linen. Temperature of water can be around 71 degree to wash the linen. If the linen is washed between 80 to 90 degrees Celsius temperature of water, then it can clean all the pathogenic bacteria and viruses. The linen then can be ironed or sent to autoclave as per the requirement of the clinicians, and further can be used. Some of the linen like gown, cap, mask we use in clinical procedure need to be autoclave. They can be wrapped into the drum and sent for autoclave. They will be reused after every use with the same procedure and can be managed like soiled or unsoiled. If they are exposed to blood and body fluid, then they will be first disinfected using 1% sodium hypochlorite and then be washed as per the steps we have seen earlier, and then will send to the CSSD department and they will pack it in drums and will be provided to clinicians for procedures like operations or dental procedures. Our next topic is infection control, and in which the surgical site infection is most important part as far as the dental practice is concerned. So we will look into this topic as various things, like what are the different types of surgeries, what are the classification of wounds. The first of all, what is surgical site infection? It is divided into basically two parts. One is incisional, that is superficial, and deep incisional surgical site infection. Superficial, it occurs within 30 days after the operation, and infection involves only skin or subcutaneous tissue of the incision and at least one of the following, like pus discharge, organism isolated from the pus, pain and tenderness, swelling and fever. Or surgeon may report if they feels it is an surgical site infection regardless of the other symptoms. The second type of SSI is organ space. Organ space SSIs are involved any part of anatomy, that for example organ or space other than incised body wall layer that was opened and manipulated during an operation. The infection occurs within the 30 days after the operation if no implants are left in place, or within 1 year of implant is in place and the infection appears to be related to the operation and infection involves the deep soft tissues, then it is said to be organ space infection. Then it must be evidenced by one of the following, like purulent drainage from the wound, fever greater than 38 degrees Celsius, localized pain and tenderness, culture obtained came positive, diagnosis of deep incisional SSI by surgeon himself can be taken as SSI. There is a classification of surgical wound. They are classified into some categories. The first is class 1, that is clean. An infected or clean wound can be distinguished from the criteria as below. An uninfected operative wound in which no inflammation is encountered and the respiratory, alimentary, genital or uninfected urinary tract is entered. In addition, clean wounds are primarily closed and if necessary drained with closed drainage. The examples of clean surgery is like repair of hernia. Then class 2, clean contaminated. It is typically involved the system like respiratory, alimentary canal, genital and urinary tract infection. The example of these wounds are appendix, biliary tract operation, vagina and oropharynx are involved basically in surgical procedure. Then class 3 wounds are contaminated wounds, often fresh accidental injuries. In addition, operations with major break in sterile technique are considered to be contaminated wounds. Class 4 are known as dirty and infected wounds. Whole traumatic wounds or burn injuries are considered in contaminated category of wounds. The definition suggests that the organism causing post-operative infection were present in the operative field before the operations as per the guidelines. Then the most important part is how you will monitor and do the surveillance of this infection. Then we have to have some provisions for monitoring SSIs. The surgeon should record all indoor cases with symptoms in the SSI register. In case of purulent discharge, pus has to be sent for culture. Readmission or re-exploration of procedure must be documented in clinical notes. The infection control nurse or officer should make a record of type of wound and the type of SSI occurred. Water should be sent for culture on monthly basis. OT procedure room culture swab must be obtained and sent for cultures. Randomly audits of various procedures like how the surgeon or a clinician do the scrubs, what is the level of hand wash compliance among the staff, how the biomedical waste is being segregated in the clinical areas can be done. Using all these surveillance and monitoring technique, we can reduce HAS, thereby we can benefit our patients and improve our clinical practice. The last part of infection control we will see today is infection control in special cases like HIV, HCV, HBsAg positive patients. As we all know, we are being healthcare professional are at risk of getting these infections from patients. So we must be very careful while dealing with such patients. As far as some infections like H1N1, COVID-19 are concerned, we advise not to operate them if it is not an emergency or if it is a planned procedure. They must obtain a medical opinion before going to a dental surgeon or practitioner. They must be treated for their primary conditions for this infection. Then later on we can go for planned procedures. But some diseases like HBsAg positive patients or HIV positive patients, we should deal with some protocols. Universal precaution must be followed for these patients. Universal precaution consists of we must consider all things related to patient as in potential source of infection, use of PPEs, proper segregation of biomedical waste while doing procedures. Then any incidents which happens must be recorded. As far as PPE are concerned, a PPE kit can be used which include all PPEs starting from mask, gown, goggles, cap and shoe covers. They will be discarded after use in a yellow bag container. Only disposable drapes can be used during procedure so that we can dispose of them. At the end of surgery, the procedure room or OT should be fumigated at least for 2 hours with recommended products like 2% glutaraldehyde. Instrument must be soaked in 2% glutaraldehyde and kept in OT along with soiled linen and disposable item till fogging is done. Then high level disinfection of medical devices contaminated with the blood from the patient is necessary. Freshly prepared glutaraldehyde 2%, 70% ethanol or isopropyl alcohol or 2% bacillocid can be used for high level of disinfection. Appropriate labeling of infected linen and waste is done to avoid the cross contamination. And universal precaution, as we earlier discussed in our lecture, must be followed in all cases in HIV as well as HBsAg positive patients. Thank you.